Hi, have y'all missed me? Oh my goodness, have the contributors not been so much fun? They really have, and if you'd watched the videos, my little people, you would know how awesome and fun they have been. You've been neglecting that a little bit, but it's okay. I forgive you. I'm here today, and we're going to talk about how to get brands to reach out to you and recognize you, because I had so many questions from y'all about how in the world I got invited to go to Sony Kando. So if you missed it on my social medias and my other channel, I was invited to go to Sony Kando this year, and it was a freaking blast. Those are clips from the full vlog. If you want to watch it, I'll link it above. But this was a trip that Sony exclusively invites people to, that you can't go to unless they invite you. I got to try out both of Sony's new cameras, the a7C II and the a7R, and the new lens they launched, and I got to hang out with all these fun creators, and I got to create content, and I got to do all of that because Sony reached out to me. And the amount of DMs, y'all, they're like, how? How did you get Sony to recognize you? How do you get brands to come to you? All the things was a lot. So I felt like it needed a full video. Now listen, what I'm going to talk about is the same whether you're trying to get a brand to recognize you to do a brand deal or to invite you on some kind of trip or whatever. And some brands are way harder and way more exclusive to get into than others. Sony's not out here inviting everybody to their event. Apple is not out here inviting everybody to their event. This company over here is not out here trying to sponsor everybody on YouTube. So understand that some of this is harder than others, but some of it's super intentional and you can totally do it too. So quick story time. While I was at Sony Kando, I was sitting at a table with a bunch of tech creators, and y'all know, I've told you on my new channel, tech is one of the things I really want to focus on, and I love tech and I love creating content about tech and all the things. And one of the guys at our table was talking about how he was going to the Apple event soon. And I don't know if you'll see this before or after the Apple event, but every year in September, they do an event where they announce all these new products. It's usually iPads and computers and watches and all the things, right? And they invite influencers and content creators to come. And he was talking about how he is going to that event. I was like, tell me how. I want to know how you got in this event. So I just need you to know that you're not the only one asking these questions, that other people are asking them too, including me. And he told me the same thing I'm going to tell you, and would have been my same advice if somebody asked me. So we're just going to roll with it. Basically, you need to do two things. One, you need to grow an audience full of the people who are that brand you're trying to attract's ideal client. And two, you need to get on the radar of that brand. So when it comes to the first part of this, that's going to be dependent on what platform you're growing on. Are you on YouTube? Are you on Instagram? Are you on TikTok? Where are you trying to grow? Be very intentional with how you're growing. Learn all the strategies. Grow like crazy. Grow intentionally. And grow an audience full of people who that brand wants to get in front of. And by the way, it doesn't have to be the same audience somebody else is growing or same brands that everybody else is growing. You can build an audience full of moms. There's tons of brands who want to get in front of audiences full of moms. You can grow an audience full of creators. There's tons of brands who want to do that. You can grow an audience full of business owners. Tons of brands who want to do that. So understand that you need to niche and you need to figure out a way to create an audience full of people that the brands you are trying to work with want to get in front of. And honestly, it's the same for every platform in the overall strategy, and that's just create really good content for those people. Have somebody in mind when you're creating content and create for those people. Don't create stuff off the wagon, if you're creating stuff for stay-at-home moms, then you're not going to also be creating content for the working corporate mom. That doesn't make any sense. Or if you're creating content for the creator, then you probably also don't want to be creating content for the stay-at-home mom, right? You've got to create content for the specific person you're trying to get in touch with. And that audience that you build up on that platform is going to be really valuable to brands because they know that getting in front of that audience is going to pay them off in dividends way more and way better than the traditional TV commercial or Facebook ad or whatever. So if you're sitting there and you're I want to work with these brands, whether you want them to invite you on a trip or you want them to work with you as a sponsorship thing or you want them to send you gear or whatever, if you don't have an audience, they have no reason to do that. So build that audience. And then the second part of this is getting on their radar. Y'all, they don't know about you until they know about you, you know? And I can promise you that emailing them and being like, hey, I'm a creator, you need to pay attention to me, or hey, I have an audience full of these people, you need to pay attention to me, is not gonna work. The way you get on their radar is by creating content that their team is out looking for. These companies, specifically companies that are working with influencers on the regular and content creators on the regular, they have either at least one person, but sometimes whole teams of people who their whole job is to go on the internet and find content from creators who have the audience they want to get in front of. Like, funny how that works, you know? So a lot of times just getting on their radar is just creating content for the person they want to attract. But the secret sauce here is to get on their radar specifically. And you do that by promoting their brand organically and for free. How did Sony find me? How did they know about me? How did they know that I use Sony camera? They watched my content and I talked about them in my content. I did videos about my a7S III when I got it. I did videos about my favorite camera gear and mentioned Sony. I did all of these videos that got me on their radar. So they were like, oh wow, that's a creator using our stuff. She's talking to other business owners, other creators who also might want to use our stuff. She seems like someone to keep in mind. And then what'll happen is they'll start to test the waters. If it's a brand deal, then they might be like, hey, could we sponsor one video? Could we sponsor an Instagram reel? They'll just kind of dip their toe in the water of how they're wanting to work with you and see how that goes. And then when that goes well, you are in the door to have other opportunities open up. So for instance, like, I really want Sony to be sending me their new cameras every single time they release a new camera. And so far they've sent me a couple, and that has been really freaking fun. And those videos have done well, and I'm on their radar. The guy who was talking about the Apple event, he said that he just flat out asked Apple one time, like, how long have you been watching me? You know? And by the way, what he was doing was Apple reviews, Apple news updates, Apple, all these things to try and get in front of Apple. And he asked, like, how long have you been watching me? And I believe he said, the girl said 2 years. 2 years they were just watching. Like, is his content good? Is this the type of person we want to get in front, like have come to our events, have get our products, and have put in front of their audience? The answer is yes, they're gonna do it. ClickUp, for instance, is a great example for me for a brand deal. So I was doing videos about ClickUp way before they started sponsoring me because I truly, truly love their product. I was talking about how I used it for content creation, how I used it for my content calendar, how I used it to manage my team, and all of these things. And then I was on their radar. Then when they got the department to start doing brand deals, they were like, oh my gosh, we have to have this Jessica girl. She talks about us all the time. And it was a really easy, natural thing. And this literally goes for any single brand that you want to get in front of. So make a list of like ideal brands, ideal people you want to get in front of. And first of all, sometimes there's going to be a brand that maybe is on your like ideal list, but doesn't make a lot of sense with like the rest of your list or with the rest of the content you're doing. So like, let's say my list is full of like Apple and Sony and ClickUp and like systems and tech that help creators do their job. Like that is what my list is full of. And then it's like American Eagle. And sure, American Eagle, we could fudge that around a little. We could be like, oh yeah, this helps creators look more fashionable or whatever. But odds are that's really not going to work. And so that may be a brand that I have a dream of working with that really doesn't fit with like what I'm actually doing. And that's okay. But make a list and create an audience full of the person that those brands want to get in front of. And ideally, those brands all want to get in front of the same type of person. You're not creating a list full of like, stay-at-home moms, creators, corporate women, like all of these things, because that's not going to work. Go out and create an audience full of those people and then start mentioning the brands you want to work with in your content organically. You shouldn't want to work with a brand as like a sponsorship or whatever that you don't believe in anyway, that you wouldn't promote for free. So go ahead and start doing that and get on their radar. You could even tweet them with your content. Definitely tag them in YouTube or Instagram. You could email them your content, but make sure that they know that you're creating content about their stuff, because that's something they're going to be like, oh my gosh, we love this. Let's do more. And just to kind of round this out, the bigger the audience, the more this is going to happen. I never did brand deals when my audience was smaller. I actually didn't even do brand deals until like 2020 when I already had like 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. That wasn't my mindset. My mindset was more so for my channel to build my own stuff and not worry about like brands and things like that. So all of that to say, I didn't do a lot of like this kind of stuff when I was smaller, but I can promise you that they are looking at smaller creators too. There were a ton of small creators at Sony Kando. There are a ton of small creators who get on Apple's radar, who get on ClickUp's radar, Squarespace's radar, like whatever. Your rates are going to be cheaper. What they're willing to do are going to be less, probably. But just because you have a small audience doesn't mean you can't start doing this, but do understand that the bigger the audience, the better. The more people that they can get in front of with your content when they sponsor you or they help you or they send you a product or like whatever, the better. So it may be that right now you need to focus on building that audience and focus on, doing the things we talked about in this video, and then the brands will start to come to you, because I promise you that happens. I have never worked with a brand in a brand deal that I went to them first. They have always come to me. We have even done cold reach out to brands and they've hardly ever worked. So they've always kind of just come to me because I'm already creating content about their stuff. Okay, so we have had a metric poop ton of awesome content going live on this channel that y'all have not been watching because it's not been me, and I'm sorry, but this is just the way it's going to be. If you want just me only, come over to my new channel. But on this channel, we're having contributors because they're amazing. And so you should watch some of these videos popping across your screen and learn some things and grow your business and all the things. Bye, y'all.